Nerds, today we're going to talk about the Basic Income March, which is coming up, I think, on September 25th or thereabouts. And we've got Patty and Lynn, who are some of the organizers over here on the West Coast. We're going to talk to them about how the March planning is coming along, the state of basic income, and take some audience questions. But before we get started, we got to get Andrew.
There's no place to hide now that he's arrived. I'm saying he ain't playing now with this campaign. Bang, dang, it's and Drew, come roll with the gang gang. Drew gang gang, that's who I hooked up with. Drew gang gang, that's who I hooked up with. Drew gang gang, that's who I hooked up. Yo, there's no place to hide now that he's arrived. I'm saying he ain't playing now with this campaign. Bang, dang, it's and Drew, come roll with the gang gang.
Hello, nerds.
Hello, nerds.
Hello, nerds.
Oh, what a beautiful Saturday morning with the nerds. So welcome to the show, Patty and Lynn, and welcome back, Patty. I remember we talked when you were advocating for a reform in Oregon around was it like a sales tax or?
It was a tax on the largest corporations, increasing their minimum corporate tax, and that was the Oregon People's Rebate. Yes,
that's right.
And I'm still working with them as well.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And Lynn, where are you joining us from?
I am in Hesperia, California, which is a little town in San Bernardino County, just about 100 miles northeast from Los Angeles.
All right, we got nice West Coast representation today. I'm joining from the Bay Area. So maybe we'll start with you, Patty. How's the March looking from your perspective? And I guess, are you doing something in Portland, or what's the plan?
I'm in Central Oregon now, and so we're doing a potluck. We're a very conservative area here, so I'm just really trying to introduce basic income to people. A lot of people in this area are not familiar with it. So I'm doing a small event at my house. I'm inviting folks to my house. If you're in Central Oregon, come on down. Maybe we'll put a link in the chat for my event so that if you want to register, come on down. It'll be great. We're gonna have some fun, some games, hang out, have a discussion. It's not gonna be a big event, but it's going to be a neighborhood community event.
So what's the reaction you're getting so far from kind of conservative folks about
conservative folks? I usually try to talk about the child tax credit, and most people seem to really connect with that. But giving people cash is a hard sell here.
Yeah.
They all believe that they should, pull up their bootstraps and, take care of their own things. But when I try to explain to them that, the benefits of giving cash to folks, I mean, we've got big problems here in Central Oregon, and we need big solutions. And I think giving people cash is going to be a step in the right direction.
Yeah, it's one of those things where when you hear it for the first time, you're like, oh, that would never work. And it takes a while to kind of connect all the dots. We haven't yet figured out the 30-second pitch for basic income that lands, with everyone. It usually takes a few conversations, I found.
Right. That's right. I like to say we're planting the seeds.
Yes. Well, hopefully your potluck will attract. What are you making?
Oh, I'm making a vegan zucchini bread. Ooh. I've been making lots of them, and they're really coming out really good now. So
might have to drive up there. All right, Lynn, tell us a little bit about yourself and how your March planning is coming along.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on today. I'm so excited, and thank you for Christina for inviting me. And it's like, we're finally getting a little bit of some notoriety and some excitement going in the area. San Bernardino County out here is pretty conservative, really solidly. And I come from a 40+ year conservative background myself. So I do feel like I have a perspective that I can speak through to folks who of those questionings and come to them with information that they will embrace and absorb, as well as my doing this 180 flip where I'm now, actually working my values and voting my values instead of being blindsided and gaslighted. So we are working on what I'm doing up here in Hesperia. I'm in the high desert, which means we sit at about an elevation of about 3,000 to 3,500 feet. So we have some really extreme temperatures and weather. I have to watch out for 40-mile-an-hour winds when it comes to doing outdoor activities. But I'm holding a small march or rally. We're probably going to meet. I'm looking to meet at Civic Center Plaza at Hesperia Civic Center. And we're going to gather there. We're going to make some signage, and we're going to walk around the block over to some of the major intersection or major thoroughfares to get some visibility. Woohoo, visibility! And then probably return right back to the park because the park is lovely and it has a great play area and some lovely fountains and things like that, where we will spend the rest of the afternoon doing some activities and just bringing some more awareness toward the need for basic income and for what it actually means in play.
Yeah. Lynn, we talked so far about the conservative pockets of the country. Have you been getting any traction with the progressives in your community? Because interestingly enough, I've noticed that it's not an easy sell on the left either for some folks. And I was just curious how what you're seeing.
I was very fortunate in that one of the organizers with actually progressive Democrats in the high desert reached out to me through my Facebook page, which is High Desert Guaranteed Basic Income. And that was pertaining to the march itself, but also to Mayors for Guaranteed Income, which were bringing petitions to be signed for both Hesperia and Apple Valley. And so Karima actually reached out and said, hey, need some help with that march? And I was like, yes, thank you. But she also made note that it's kind of a struggle from both angles of the progressive side and also the conservative side.
Yeah. A
lot of times because there's looking for very specific alignments. And if you're not following those very precise dogma, then you get a rejection from that too. So just treading carefully, but just trying to embrace everyone and let everyone know that we're all welcome here and we all need to link arms and support each other. And then we can move forward in a very beneficial direction from the ground all the way to the ceiling.
Right on. Well, Christina, thank you for putting this show together. I know you reached out to me and said, hey, can we talk about the Basic Income March? And of course, I was excited to have all of you on. How are you doing today? Oh, you're on mute.
I'm doing good. Yeah, thanks for having us. I'm just really thrilled to finally meet actually Lynn and Patty. I see them all every week on meetings, and this is probably one of the first times we've actually interacted a little bit more than just a phone call or two. So just really great to hear everybody, and what they're doing in their events. So for a little bit about myself, though, this is actually my third year. So we know this is the third annual Basic Income March, and I'm actually organizing in Northern California. So I have one of the bigger events in Mountain View, California, and Andrew is actually going to be our keynote. We have a really great lineup I've heard
of that guy.
Yeah. So we also have Senator Cortese, who was very instrumental in the Foster Youth UBI program. We have Ann Price of Insight Center. We have Deborah Cullinan and Kevin Dublin of the Yerba Buena Center for the Arts. They also have a UBI program that's geared towards artists. We also have Martin Ford, who was very instrumental in writing. He wrote Rise of the Robots, and he has a new book coming out as well. And then we have Giselle Huff, who we know is very much a supporter of UBI. And then also Natalie Foster, who's very instrumental in the whole movement. So we have a huge, great lineup. And there's probably another one that I'm missing. Oh, and I'm missing Kevin Adler, who is the CEO of Miracle Messages, which is a great nonprofit in the city who's targeting homelessness and also doing more of a cash relief program. They're starting a little bit of a cash relief program in that area.
Wow, very cool.
Yeah.
How many people do you think are you expecting to attend?
Oh, easily, I think 150 to 300.
Nice.
You know, we've only had about 100 RSVP, but we know more people will show up because it is a public event in a public venue. There's a lot of foot traffic, a lot of businesses on we're at. So excited, very, very excited.
Love it. And it's going to be in Mountain View.
It is. Yep, downtown Mountain View. Mm-hmm.
Nice.
You're familiar with the area, right? You're in the area.
I've work in my day job. I spend a lot of time over there.
Okay.
So tell me a little bit about like how you've seen, Christina, the march evolve from year one to now.
Oh my God.
What are some similarities and differences?
Yeah, you know, the first year was exciting because we piggybacked off of the campaign. So easily we had, I'd say, you know, 300, 400, 500 people at the event, but it was still new. And it was really more about the Yang Gang getting together and really supporting Andrew's platform. The second year, of course, was a pandemic. We had it in Oakland. And so everyone had to get creative that year, and we had less participation because of that, right? We couldn't get together in public as much in certain areas. And so we got creative. We had car parades, art installations, you know, just street corner protests, but it was really great because people were still out in support of this. And this year, I mean, gosh, I got to tell you, I was having this conversation with some of my team, and just the amount of organizations now that are actually willing to engage with us on another level is very different. You know, last couple of years was like, well, okay, maybe we're not sure what you guys are all about. And this year it's like, sure, you know, let's follow up afterwards and let's like figure out what we can do this next year to move it forward some more. And just really excited about the energy and the actual, like the grassroots movement is definitely growing. I mean, obviously you can see Patty and Lynn are new to this, and you know, this is exactly what we're looking for. It just takes one person in every community to make a difference, and you know, to join our movement, and that's how we grow. So, you know, this year, I think, I'm not sure if they've mentioned it already, but 30 plus cities across the globe. This is not just a US event, it's also international. So I don't know. I'm just excited. The best part is afterwards when everyone sends in their photos and you can see the flavor of everybody's cities and what happened in those cities on the same day. And yeah, I'm just thrilled to be here and be able to share it with everybody and introduce you guys to you know, the other two here.
Yeah, the Basic Income March website has a little map, and looks like it is really global. That there's going to be events all over, and wherever you're listening to this from, there's probably an event near you. It could be a potluck at Patty's house, or it could be like a large march in Mountain View, or something in between at the park in the high desert with Lynn. That's super awesome. What do you all think about Andrew Yang, sort of it being reported that he's advocating for a third party? And it kind of touches on some of this, like, well, there are some ideas that neither end of the political spectrum are big fans of, and maybe basic income might be one of those where it's kind of struggling to find a home in the current party structure. This isn't the first time that we've seen a third party effort, and you know, they often don't go very far. But curious what you all think. Anybody have any initial reactions? Are you excited? Are you disappointed? Are you just keeping an open mind? Where your head's at?
I'll step in.
All right, Lynn.
Because I also worked with Cal Ranked Choice Voting. So it's like, yes, we are definitely looking to bring more parties. But historically, in the United States itself, It's when we've had really major shifts, it's been due to an alternate party stepping up, stepping in, and making waves. So we have gotten where we are in the best sense historically. Things like the abolishment of slavery, the bringing in of women being able to write, women's right to vote, women's suffragettes, and then the I'm not sure if it carried through all the way to the Civil Rights Act, but I think there was some support along that area from alternate party persuasions. But about every 60 years, a third party seems to coalesce and become powerful and make waves and make things happen. And when it's time for that to happen again, plus other democratic societies, such as those in Europe. I mean, Finland looks at us and goes, "You have two parties? We have like 9. What are you doing? You call that a democracy?" So we could spread the wealth a little bit more and have multiple parties, and they don't have to cancel each other out. That's really an important point. They don't have to cancel each other out. It's not about splitting the vote. It's about getting our best candidates moved forward.
Patty, what are your thoughts? Have you heard about this?
Yes, I have. I pre-ordered Andrew's book. I'm looking forward to hearing what he has to say, what he's learned. I didn't have like high. If anybody else was trying to start a third party, I wouldn't be that interested in it. But because it's Andrew, and I believe in him, and I think he's a really smart guy, and he's not going to do something that. That he's not just doing it just for the hell of it. I think he has a plan, and I'm looking forward to hearing more about it. But if you don't mind, I'd like to answer one of the questions that you had earlier about the progressives. A couple of months ago, when things started opening up here in Central Oregon, there was a call for a progressive group here in Redmond. And I was just expecting a handful of people. There were 60 people there, 60 to 100. I couldn't believe it. I was so surprised. I was able to get a large number of them to sign for the mayor to consider a basic income here in Redmond. But I was really surprised because they were all progressives. I was really surprised that most of them hadn't heard of a basic income. So I spent the most of the night like explaining it to folks and giving them information and pointing them to different websites and resources for them to start learning about it. So yeah, but unfortunately here we're getting hit really bad with the coronavirus. We've got major spikes. I mean, it's worse here now than it was at the height of the pandemic last year. So a lot of the progressives that came out are really against in-person activities right now. So that's why I decided to do a small kind of gathering. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, no, it's for sure the COVID stuff is definitely, I think a lot of us thought once the vaccines came out earlier this year, we were kind of over the hump, and that Delta variant is no joke. And I was talking to some friends on the East Coast who work in healthcare, and it's pretty, it's they're all saying it's worse than the 2020 surges, and it's so sad because a lot of it was avoidable. But here we are. Christina, tell me a little bit about, so you're going to have what appears to be a third-party advocate in Andrew Yang speaking at your event.
Yeah,
that's kind of interesting. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because Thursday we announced our lineup, and then that afternoon I think the political article broke. And when that came out, I was like, "Oh, BIM just got a lot more interesting." So, I'm through and through Yang Gang. I helped during his presidential his candidacy, and have been just a supporter since then, and just followed, what he's been doing, even in New York and those things. And to be honest, I think it's a good thing. I think most people are craving something different than what the left and the right have currently been. But at the same time, I'm reserving judgment. Obviously, this is a big endeavor. I still don't know the scope of what's happening. He hasn't really had any formal announcements or anything like that. But I would have to say, like, this has been what I've been feeling right now is that there's a huge re-engagement right now of Yang Gang that went dormant a little bit after the campaign suspended, right? And so people are starting to say, hey, oh, he's coming, and what's this book about? And so I'm hoping that we'll also have like a nice reunion happening at our event. Maybe people will sign up. And one thing along those lines, when you were talking about how things have changed since since like 2019, right, when the BIM started. So California Yang Gang, actually, many of us stayed active, politically engaged. We were helping down ballot candidates. We've been engaged with state and local government, with UBI, Progressive Issues, RCV most recently, as Lynn knows. She's part of our Level Up California now. But we actually rebranded ourselves to Level Up California from California Yang Gang. And so now we're a legit org. We've actually filed paperwork. We're now a nonprofit, a political nonprofit. We've actually just finished up our paperwork, so now we can actually do some fundraising. And so this is like our first sort of big event where I'm also leveraging the Basic Income March to also have us be a sponsor of it. And so, this is kind of our debut too as a grassroots org, as a legit org in the field. So we're just really excited. Like, there's just so much going on, and yeah, I'm just gonna wait and see what Andrew has to say. But we're definitely like, have him ready. We're ready to go as soon as he kind of makes that cavalry call, So.
Yeah, it should be super interesting. I managed to get my hands on a pre-release version of the book, and I haven't gotten to the part where I'm still reading about his behind-the-scenes story of the presidential run, which is super interesting. Haven't gotten to the third-party stuff that's in the back third of the book, but I'll be doing like a book review on the Nerds channel. But I'm under an embargo, so I won't be able to discuss it until I think October 3rd or 4th, and then I have a little PowerPoint presentation. I'll highlight some key things I thought were interesting.
Level Up California is going to have a book club too, and we're going to be reading the book. So
wonderful.
Maybe at some point we can also like have, the rest of us can get together and have a talk.
Yeah, we can have a panel discussion about it if you wanted to. Yeah. Let's book clubs and nerd channels kind of go together. Let's take some audience questions. So if you're in the audience and you have questions for Christina, Patty, or Lynn, either about the Basic Income March, about the movement in general, or if you want about the Yang stuff, let us know. And while we're waiting for questions to come in on the chat, I did want to take a 2-minute break to thank some of the folks who support this channel and just help us covering our operating costs for the streaming software and the different sorts of tools and stuff that we use to keep the content going. So let me just we'll thank our highest level member, which is our SVP, and that would be Soldier One. So thank you very much, Soldier One, for your help. At the VP level, Kristen Slevin, Laura Lane, Richard Johnson, and Bike. Thank you to you all. At the hardcore nerd level, we have Mike, Gene, David, DK, Jack Lego, Kirsch, Mr. History, Byron, Mona, Susan Yang, Tony, Robert, Dean, Stat, Galessa, Jay Perrin, AA, Jay Bryan, Vivian, Dana, Flavio, Yoda, Jason, and Parth. And then lastly, at our entry level, the verified nerds, we've got V, Helen, Lisa, Sugar, Albert, Brandon, Brian, Peter, Erez, your mom and Sophia, Jadwiga, Mike, Doris, Emerald, Lori, Ben, Roger, Lisa, Christina, Vaughn, Rasta, Jessica, Elizabeth, James, Emma, Hui, Ira, Shoni, Philip, Jameson, Doctor, William, Karen, Monica, Mai, Ardent, Semery, David, Brittany, Sasha, Juana, Warren, Reddy, Lucky, Kevin, and Beverly. So all of those folks donate a little bit each month. They cover the cost for streaming, for hosting, for the podcast on audio, and the thumbnail editing software and all the stuff that keeps this thing going. Let's go into some additional questions for you organizers. Tell me about what do you think happens in between the marches? Like after this march is done, I'm sure it's going to be great. There's going to be a lot of excitement. Then we're going to start going into, I guess, the 2022 congressional election cycle. Any plans or thoughts about how we can get UBI talked about at that kind of local level rather than, obviously we've always talked about presidential stuff. Who wants to go first in terms of the 2022 cycle?
I'll go back to working with Oregon People's Rebate, right? Because we're still in the process of collecting 145,000 signatures for that, and with that, introduce the idea of basic income, right? I mean, Oregon People's Rebate is an annual check. We really want to push towards monthly checks, right? So maybe not through Oregon People's Rebate, but maybe some other program that we can do, right? Because there's so many people suffering. I mean, I've been helping out at we have a pop-up picnic every Sunday where we serve food to the homeless, and so I've been really getting involved. And I mean, even though Redmond, there's a population of maybe 30,000 residents. We still have a really fairly large homeless community, right? And the winter's coming, and we've had a really bad summer, and I'm really concerned about them. What's going to happen to them in the wintertime? So that's what I'm going to be, and that's what I'm going to be doing. In addition to, obviously the income, basic income is all about helping folks develop these grassroots movements, right? So, being involved with them and brainstorming and however I can support them, really.
Wonderful. Christina, 2022, are you excited about it?
Yeah, I am definitely excited. Again, like this event is actually a celebration of the movement in the year prior, like the stimulus checks, the child tax credits, all these pilot programs that are popping up. But it's also to energize us for the next year's efforts, right? And so, of course, some of that is TBD, depending on current events and whatnot. But I really think there's going to be a huge emphasis on supporting and uplifting pilot programs that are happening across the U.S. A lot of it will be just putting it on people's radar that we need to gather this data so that we can actually push legislation further forward once we have that. So for me, I mean, there's down ballot candidates, of course, in California and across the U.S. That I've been getting involved in, and anybody can actually do that. You can phone bank in any state if you find a candidate that you like. We have plenty of progressive candidates running on UBI, and you've interviewed them yourself as well, Tom. So I really just encourage everyone to join like Income Movement to get connected. I'll drop a link in a minute. And then, of course, in California, you can join Level Up California, and I can get you connected there as well. And I'm sure there's other organizations, of course. There's Fund for Humanity, where you can learn more about that as well. And they're a huge sponsor of all things GBI and all different types of events, especially the BIM event. Of course, ESP, just keep those things on your radar. And I'm sure in your state, your city, you'll find something that will be happening that you can get involved in. And if not, you can always get connected again through Income Movement to get more information.
Right on. Speaking of volunteering for candidates, let me give a plug for a nonprofit that I volunteer for called Of the People. And on there, it's at ofthepeople.us. You can go to candidates, and then you can filter by policy issues. So in this case, UBI. And here we have listed about 18 candidates, and they're ordered by who has the most approval votes on this platform. So anyone can sign up and they can vote to approve whoever they like. But I just want to give a shout out to some of our top trending UBI candidates. We have Erica Smith running for Senate. We have Alan Ellison running for Senate in Florida. We have Jesse Phillip running for Congress in Florida. We have Sheridan Lund running for Congress in New Mexico. Ali Dalzimer running for House of Representatives in Virginia. Ryan Stark, Corey Legendre, Christy Seelock, Teresa Kang. So there's a lot of great pro UBI candidates on Of the People, and you can learn more about them. If you click on any of their profiles, you have links to their websites. You can, and then vote to approve them, and then they get kind of pushed up in our rankings as well. So that's another way to find out. And as Christina said, I'm sure they're raising money, but also would love volunteers and phone bankers. And there's more pro UBI people than you might know. And so it's kind of fun to discover new ones as well. With regards to the third party stuff, I'm kind of curious about, is maybe the best opportunity within the Congress. So rather than trying to get a third party presidential ticket, of course, that would be great. But, there might be a district out there that's kind of purple, that's ready for something new, and you get the right candidate, and who knows, and that could be one more vote, in the legislative branch. And you see how, some of these majorities are pretty narrow, certainly in the Senate, and you see how one vote can actually really influence things with, Joe Manchin and stuff like that. Curious, what are your all thoughts on basic income advocates at the super grassroots level, which would be like city council, state legislature, versus these congressional seats? Anybody have thoughts on that? Go ahead, Christina. You're unmuted. And then Patty, you go next.
Well, I was thinking mainly with Old Yin Gang, right? I know you interviewed Yenny, and she just had her race. She didn't actually win her seat, but I think the fact that we have people that are more engaged now and willing to put it on the ballot, I think is huge already, right? Whether you win or not, that's a whole nother story. But the fact that there are people now taking those steps to go that distance, right? And every year, if we have one more person that does it and one more person, I mean, that's how we actually build our movement. So for me, obviously, I think now that, the campaign is suspended in 2020, Ying's campaign, most of the Yin Gang now have turned hyper local. And I think that's actually where a change will actually happen. So just get involved in your community, your neighborhood, your state, organizations, and, but collectively as we will actually make some noise, right, at the federal level. So that's all I'm kind of hoping at right now. First steps first, though, get through the next 7 days until the event, because there's a lot of last minute things that we're trying to get done. So
absolutely. Yeah, no, I mean, thanks to all of you for working so hard on organizing these events. It's, there's a lot of us who are active on Twitter and will favorite and retweet things, but putting an event together, like that's a real commitment, and it's a bit of a thankless job. So I appreciate everything that you all are doing. Maybe what I'll do is just ask for some closing thoughts and any reminders or calls to action for people who are listening. And we'll start with you, Patty, and then Lynn, and then Christina, you can wrap us up. So Patty, what are your closing thoughts?
Well, thank you so much for having us on the show. I really appreciate it. Always a pleasure to talk to you. If you are in the Central Oregon area, please come on down. It's going to be a very chill, relaxed, safe environment for us to have a really meaningful conversation. So I would love to meet you if you're interested in learning more about basic income or how it's going to affect our community. Feel free to come on by. Tom is showing my my income movement registration page, so feel free to join us there. So thank you.
And I'll put a link in the description to all of your things, but I'm also going to put in the chat right now for the Redmond, Oregon event, and that's going to have some fresh zucchini bread as well, right? So who can say no to that? Very nice. Lynn, let's talk your closing thoughts.
So I want to backtrack just slightly about the Joe Manchin issue, because he and Kirsten Simna are the public face of the resistance in the Democrat Party and getting beyond the filibuster and getting for the People Act. And well, we all know all that. But there's also at least 9 other senators that are hiding behind them. So everybody check with your state representative and double check on where your senator stands on these issues, because there's people that are hiding behind others and masking like they're supporting when they're actually not. So we need to push them in the supportive directions. Anyway, so back to Basic Income March. Yes, thank you so much for having me on. I've been delighted to have been invited, and I finally get to meet Tom. I knew Patty from before, but I get face to face with Christina. It's like, yay! And if you are going to be in my high desert area and would like to drop in to our lovely little rally and march in the park at Hesperia Civic Plaza, please reach out sign up on Action Network. And I really appreciate you dropping the link because I'm not tech savvy. So that's very, very helpful. And don't feel obligated to have to do anything. You can drop in and drop out. You can come in and get one of our basic income buttons or stickers. And we'd be more than happy to have you come by and say hello. Learn about what basic income is and does and what unconditionality means. Be more than happy to talk with you. Thank you.
Right on. Thanks, Lynn. Christina. Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, so as much as I want to plug Mountain View, I mean, we know everyone's going to have a really great event. I really just want to emphasize that there's probably an event in the city near you. So make sure you just, wherever you're at, try and find an event that's near you. If not, then I really just encourage you to just sign up for Income Movement's newsletter and see how you can get involved. I'm just excited that we have so many new organizers. That's how our movement grows, whether it's a potluck, whether it's a huge lineup like Mountain Views, that's kind of irrelevant. I think the main thing really is that we're using this opportunity and this next year to really elevate UBI where we can in our communities. And to me, that's like the most important thing. And by having these events and doing a public demonstration worldwide on this day together, that's going to be a huge statement, and hopefully that'll bring more people into the fold. So I'm excited about this next year, and we'll see where it goes, and maybe you'll have us back in a year's time. So we'll see.
Oh, for sure. I know we will. And, I totally agree with all of you that it is, a multi-step process. And if we're all just sort of chipping away at it, at some point it will tip. I think even like 5 years ago, Medicare for all was considered like, really kind of a fringe idea, but, people kept asking about it, and they kept asking their congressional representatives and their senators. They kept talking about it. They kept organizing, and now it's practically a mainstream thing. I think like almost a majority, if not already, support Medicare for all. And it's possible that basic income a few years from now, we'll talk about it as, we'll look back on these days of like, oh, remember when there's just a few hundred people showing up for a march, and at some point it'll be a few thousand, and that's going to be so cool. And so appreciate all of you, Patty, Lynn, Christina, for putting in your personal time. If you're watching this, go ahead, check out, look for a local event at basicincome.march.com. There's a really kind of handy way to search by zip code. There might still be time if you want to do a small event in your area, like Patty's doing a good example, where you don't have to do like a huge thing. You could do some small thing, and that's how sometimes these little embers all over, they start getting some traction. So check that out, and then of course, look for more information after the event, and check out the incomemovement.org. incomemovement.org, so www.incomemovement.org. That'll help you stay on top of upcoming things, and like and share this video so more people can hear about the march. And with that, we're going to say, in order of Patty, Lynn, and Christina, and everybody remember to unmute before you do this. Goodbye, nerds.
Goodbye, nerds.
Goodbye, nerds.
Goodbye, nerds.
Bye, nerds.